Hello, everybody. Oh, my microphone's not out here. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is JJ Hardy here with Victory Leadership Coaching. I'm supposed to have a podcast today, and that's okay. We're not going to do it, but I'm still live here to chat with all of y'all. So let me get Instagram going, and I'm just going to keep on talking while Instagram kind of figures itself out here. All right. Instagram is live. Okay. So, here in about a month and a half, my company is going to hit 2 years old, and I've been on an interesting journey. So, first of all, I didn't do any live streaming when I first started my company, and there's a reason for that. It's because I didn't really know how I was going to provide my services. This passionate leadership development professional that retired from the U.S. Army that really had no direction. And if I'm going to preach that purpose, direction, and motivation is leadership, then I think that I have to have it for myself. And I have that now. So I have a community. I have cohorts to teach my leadership training. And just going to do a plug. I've written a book. It's a small book. I've done speaking engagements. I talk about mental health on a podcast. I also talk about entrepreneurship on another podcast. And this journey is only getting more and more clear. I've helped corporate clients. I've helped small companies. I've done what I consider to be God's work because I'm helping people. And that may be business. Business, you're supposed to solve a problem. But, I'm helping people in a way that it hits my heart. And I hope it hits theirs too. Well, now I need your help. So please look at my book, but I need to network with as many HR people, business owners, corporate people, send some people my way. I want to build my network out. I need to build it more than I already have. I've already quadrupled my original network, actually more than that. But what I'm doing now requires me to talk to as many people as possible. And I do a lot of veteran advocacy as well. So, especially in the mental health realm, because I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't think the VA does a very good job helping veterans. And I can get chastised for that, but I don't care. Because I've been there. I've gone to the VA. They didn't help. I went to the DAV and I got help. Oh, Dwight ended up showing up. So let's go ahead and do this podcast. Hey, Dwight.
Blessings, humblest apologies. Not me, not finding the correct video link. I'm clicking all over the place. I'm like, I know it's the right time. I know I met with JJ. I know it's real. It wasn't an illusion of my imagination. So appreciate the patience. Apologies for the tardiness.
No problem. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, so I started giving a business update. We're live streaming right now. We're already live.
Salutations, brother. Salutations. One love always. Blessings.
Hey, you know what? It's all about the pivot and continuing movement. And so, regardless of I have had guests before in the past that just don't show. And so, what do? I roll with the punches and make it happen anyway. My people expect me to be live because it's advertised. I go live.
No, that's the way. That's the mentality to have. The same thing with me. I do my author showcase, and I'm like, listen, I already have my backup plan. It's me, So, but I respect your time, and I respect the opportunity to be here. And it's gonna be a great, fantastic conversation. Again, thank you for the invite and for the wisdom and for the foresight.
Sure. Now, if you don't mind, because it's going to make my video editing a lot easier after we're done. And this is all happening live, but that's okay. People can see this. This is all good. But I'm going to go ahead and, if it's okay with you, Dwight, I'm going to play my podcast trailer real quick.
Come on now.
Hey, let's rock and roll.
Boom.
leadership, workplace mental health, entrepreneurship. This is Victory Leaders Lounge. Okay, we are in it. All right, so welcome to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge. And today we have a writer, a servant leader, all of the above. And he's gonna drop some knowledge bombs on us, just like most people do on these podcasts. But more than anything, he's gonna share a story, which is probably the more powerful thing from every guest that I have. So, Dwight Thompson is my guest. Dwight, you want to give an introduction real quick and give a little bit of your story? Uh-oh. Well, it seems his camera froze. Maybe he's having a connectivity issue, and that's okay. Well, I actually connected with Dwight via a podcast network, and he has his own, and hopefully I'll be blessed with the opportunity to become a member of his podcast as well. Oh, okay, here he is. He's back. Okay. Yeah, so you froze, and it's okay.
No. Thank you.
So yeah, if you wouldn't mind giving an introduction real quick and telling us a little bit about yourself, that would be wonderful.
At the age of 13, I came down with the pox. Burning up like gasoline, I couldn't use my voice box. To say the hole in my socks was bigger than the room I was sleeping in, taller than the lie I was living in, with a father who didn't bother to speak to me, except it was to say not to use profanity. All he gave to me was a Bible outlined in red, so I was speaking in tongues from the head instead of being dead. Last summer, another brother died, and I cried, thinking of all those who refused to let Christ inside. What's hard? Living a life without Jesus Christ or God, or a life where everyone thinks that you're odd and should be beaten with a rod or a stick or a pot spoon or sandals or electric cord or a tree branch, if you have one. I have yet to see a saint or a sinner escape the light of the sun. I Salah. My name is Dwight Thompson, aka the Right Warrior. I am your gospel poet, your writer. And when you look in the mirror, that poet and writer you see is you. And that can be the best version of you, if you only believe. How you doing, Jason? JJ, how you doing? Blessings and one love always.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm going to say amen, sir. Amen to everything that you said. I believe, and, I'm doing well. I wake up every morning and I actually have something written down that I think you would probably feel very powerful about. It's part of my affirmation that I say to myself, and if God wakes me up to see another day, I promise to be a better person than I was yesterday. And as a leader, I promise to give that extra 1% that I didn't give yesterday. So
you have to,
whatever that looks like, whether it's talking to a wonderful person such as yourself, or it's, maybe doing 5 extra push-ups or whatever the case may be, I promise to be just a little bit better. And so when you start talking about, God's best version of ourselves and, our inner voice and all of those other things, what you basically just said to me is, hey, look, we all have the words within us that God gave us. We just need to go out and preach and say what he told us to say. It's wonderful. It's beautiful.
Exactly. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then God breathed life into us.
Yes.
So in essence, we have words within us, and these words that we share with each other, this is how humanity works. Right? This is how we learn from each other. This is how we develop relationships. So the more we use our words constructively, positively, affirmatively, the better it is for everyone involved in the process.
Yes, I completely agree. And, you know, with that in mind, I mean, you help people create these words when they have difficulty coming up with them on their own. But I'd like us, from your point of view, I'd like for you to explain what that means. Like, how do you help people?
So it depends on each person, right? So one of the things I realized when 2020 happened, I had a decent government job. Let's say not the best. I had a decent government job for about 12 years. I was a project specialist, administrative coordinator, office manager, hurricane shelter manager, all the good stuff here in Florida. And when COVID happened, illness, homelessness, job loss, I
Oh no.
realized that I need to find a way to be able not only just survive, but to be the best version of myself and find a way to represent, right? Because when you don't have anything or you think you don't have anything, that's when you become more creative. And from there, I found my voice and the publishing route and how to interlock your purpose and why you are here with what you write about and how you speak to others and how you present yourself and represent your faith and your mental health. And then when I published my first book, tying the ends together, right? A simple book, 4 poems in there. And the poem I opened up with was one of the poems in that book. Folks would then start to ask me, hey, how did you write this book? What was the process? What were you thinking about? You know? And then I kept hearing this one statement over and over again. I don't think I can ever write my own book, from other people. And it made me think like, why would you say that? Right. And then I look back at myself. If COVID didn't happen and 50-50 on how much it has changed our society, right, and our economics and everything, but I had to find something good out of it. And if it wasn't for COVID, maybe I would not have begun this path to become a better writer, to publish books, to help others tell their story. So with that in mind, I'm like, you know what, God, let's look at this objectively, if possible. Maybe sometimes we need a catalyst, a crisis, a moment to believe in ourselves. So now the next question is, from my point of view, how can I engineer, spark, or start that catalyst without anything crazy happening? So that's when I realized if I build some systems, if I make myself available, if I go in with the mindset of I'm doing God's work, I'm here to let other people know you can do it. You can write your story. It could be something as simple as 15 minutes a day, whether it be journaling, writing haikus, or you have an outline for a story you've been thinking about since you were a little kid. Maybe it's a technical journal. You could have been 20 years sailing the seas with the Navy, right? Down in the, I don't know, what do you call it, engine room. There you go. Come on now. And now you're like, I want to tell my story, how to rivet things together, scrubbing the decks. Go for it. 50 minutes a day and you start. You never know. My first book
No.
after the poetry book was a book of many quotes that I kept writing down in my quick memo on my phone. Stuff like the only way to begin is if you start, and if you believe in yourself, you've won the battle. Simple things that was helping me get through my day, I put together as a book of quotes. It's like 15 pages, but it's a start. And that is what became the takeaway for me. People say too much, I can't write a book. No. If you're living and breathing, I love what JJ said, you are above ground for one more day. Why not start? Why not start?
And I would kind of add to that and say, if you feel like you have a purpose, why are you waiting to achieve that purpose? It
Mm,
doesn't matter if it's writing a book, or maybe it's going and speaking on stage about a traumatic event that happened to you to help you heal and to help other people heal. Or if it's just to start that business that you've been wanting to start because you hate this job you've been at for 25 years, or whatever the case may be. It could just be to go
Ooh,
out and say hello to your father after you haven't seen that person for 10, 15 years. I mean, it doesn't really matter. If you feel like there's something that needs to be done and you are not doing it, and you know it would be healing to your soul and helpful to others, you almost have a moral obligation to yourself to make that happen. And when you don't fulfill that,
exactly.
you're all you're doing is causing yourself pain.
Exactly. That act of forgiveness is so important because forgiveness is not necessarily about the other person, it's about you. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we need to forgive ourselves first, and having the ability to recognize, you know what? We are imperfect beings, right? Everyone knows this.
Yep.
Imperfect beings, that's humanity in general. However, every day, every step is one more chance to be better, to be more Christ like, to be more kind and have more empathy. And especially for those in your 9 to 5, I always say, from a business point of view now, if you're in a 9 to 5, there's no reason why you can't pivot, right? Don't wait for them to call you in for that dreaded conversation. Oh, we're having budget cuts and your department is no longer necessary. Don't wait. If you are in a 9 to 5, you are your personal brand. If you like crocheting, no judgment from me. I love a good knit and I love a good yarn. No pun intended. If you love crocheting, get you together, some thread and some yarn and figure out what you want to do on the weekends. You want to make hats, make an Instagram account and say, hey, I do hats. You want a hat? Just DM me. You don't have to sell anything. You don't have to start anything big or major, but you have to start. And if you love volunteering, why not? Go to
That's
your
true.
local soup kitchen, talk to your local churches. Hey, you guys need someone to come for a couple of hours and just volunteer. I'll come build a stage and just keep it trucking.
Yep.
So this is why it's important to know your purpose. Tap into your faith, to your mental health, because they go hand in hand. And
Yep.
then, even though you have a full day, family, work, make time for yourself. Make time for writing. Because writing is so important.
Yes, it is. Writing is important, even if it's just to write down the poison that's in your mind. I know I have a lot from my past that once in a
Ooh,
while I will talk to somebody about it, or write it down, or whatever the case may be, but sometimes I just need to get rid of it. And I've learned to do that in the past like 5 or 10, well, about 5 or 6 years, I guess, because you know it was getting worse. The longer I kept some of this poison down in my soul, it just made everything I did harder. It made my relationships suffer with my wife, with my kids. Um, I still struggle sometimes with friendships,
mm,
and that's kind of how
wow,
business has helped me actually, because there's that saying out there that your network is your net worth. Well, that's almost a forcing function to go out there and talk to as many
true.
people as possible. So I've
Right.
grown. I've
Expand your
actually developed.
network and your net worth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't know people, you're not going to sell anything. And if your product or
Mm,
service is you and your expertise, which yours is as well, then you're not going to sell that to anybody if you don't know anybody. So,
exactly.
yes.
And the other
But,
the other thing is too is I was gonna say we need each other. You know, iron sharpens iron. One of my fellow poets always says this: iron sharpens iron, and that's a fact. You know, you can have your plan and your ideas, and you're ready to go, and you're working on it, but then just talking to someone about the unrelated, seemingly unrelated item or issue gives you one more piece you need to fulfill your objective. And you're like, there we go. That makes perfect sense. Unrelated
yes.
conversations, right? But that's how humanity works. We have a collective spirit, we have a united energy. And don't mind the differences, don't mind the wars, don't mind the different political agendas. The point is, we all need each other. We all
Yes.
want to be able to have a decent home, clean water, raise our kids, and every now and then, perhaps go fishing, right? Or go down to the
Hey,
beach and just build a
let's go.
sandcastle.
Let's go fishing, man. I'm
Come
all
on
about
now.
that.
Come on now, JJ. Let's go.
Yeah, but you got to come up here to Iowa though, because we have the catfish up here.
Mhm.
um, no, but
Listen.
I
Whew.
love your. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, no, no. So one thing that stuck
And
out
I
to
was
me. So
gonna
I talk a
say,
lot about.
I'll come
Oh,
Iowa and you come down to Florida.
you guys have the big fish down there in Florida.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
But go ahead.
And by the way, I think there seems to be a bit of a delay between when we say something, so hopefully that doesn't get too awkward. But what I will say is that something you told that you mentioned in your backstory, about you leaving that government job, which all government jobs are good and horrible all at the same time, just because of the bureaucratic stuff that you deal with. But you know, I talk a lot about warrior leadership. And when I think of warrior
Mm,
leadership, it's that resilient mindset to be able to push through adversity and go out and tackle goals, and achieve things that most other people think are impossible when you start off at a very, very tough place. And I love your journey because it kind of exemplifies exactly what I'm talking about. And I know your business is called The Right Warrior because that's what got you out of there, is your writing, but the voice that God gave you, not just for yourself but other people. Um, but just pushing past all of that hard stuff. You don't have to be homeless anymore because you have a gift. You don't have to struggle because you have a gift. But that's what I want most people to understand about entrepreneurship, is that if you just push past those limiting beliefs that you have in yourself and you move forward, you don't have to leave your job. You don't have to stop what you're doing, but you have to move forward on the hard things to learn about yourself. And that's really what you've done. That's how you build the mind of a warrior. And usually it was that way for me when I was younger. It takes struggle sometimes to build that mind of a warrior. But I'd like to know more about your actual services because, I would,
exactly.
I would like for people to know what you provide, because that's part of what I like to talk about on my show. Is how you help people so that if they need to reach out to you, they can.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate that. So the first thing is I do 4 different community building events. That's what I call them, right? Because you have to be sustainable and give back. So anyone who wants to talk about publishing purpose and poetry, or their current career issues, or anything of the nature, you get a free 15 minutes with me. That's number one. Like, conversation is free, knowledge is sharing, right? So 15 minutes, you tap in with your video call. It's your 15 minutes. What do you want to know? What do you want to figure out? So that's number one. Number two is on my social media accounts, whether it be LinkedIn or Instagram, I try to post as much information as possible, because that's the first step. You got to have information. Before you make a decision, you have to make information. And once you have the information, then you can make a decision. And so the third thing, then we break it down. Okay, if you're an author, you want to be an author and a writer, do you want to be independent or do you want to sign a traditional house? I'm an independent publisher. What that means is I control everything that belongs to me. If you're an independent author or writer, then I can show you the steps, the process, right? However, if you want to work with me as a ghostwriter, now we're talking, okay, what type of ghostwriter do you want? Do you want a silent ghostwriter? Do you want a ghostwriter who gets the credit? Or do you want to co-author a book? So as a gospel poet, I can work on any project. However, I prefer faith-based, positive-oriented projects. Right now we have 2 projects in the works. One is a fantasy story. And the next one is a personal memoir about healing and trauma. I'm the editor on both of those projects. Hopefully, they'll be coming out this year. So those projects are available for us to work on, and I have rates for that and different prices based on your budget. Now, if you want to do a DIY project where you're like, you know what, I want to do it how you did it. I want to publish, write, do everything myself. Then I have a document I can send to you. It show you the steps. You can see exactly what you need to do. When it comes to hard skills, because you need to understand, a book needs to be edited. It needs to be proofread. You want to have formatting so you can upload it to Amazon, to Kindle, to Ingram Sparks, to Barnes and Nobles, and that's what we do. So if you need your book formatted, if you have your manuscript already digitized with no margins, it's all over the place, that's where I come in. As a developmental editor, I can look at your manuscript. I could be like, okay, who's your target audience? What's your story about? What's going to be the ending of your story that will make the reader wants to do something? Why should they care? And these are the
Mm,
questions we have to ask and answer as a project to know why are we writing a book. Now, I also work with different families where they just want to have like a family memoir for the next family reunion, for example. Then I'll show you the process. I'll work with you on a weekend, 2 hours on a weekend. We can knock it out real quick, where all you need to do is essentially record your elders, your aunt, your grandpa, the ones who traveled and helped build railroads and was the first person to work in the first Burger King, for example. You record their stories, you transcribe to a Word document, you edit it, you format it, then you upload to Amazon, and you can order your own copies at like $5 per copy. I'm
yep.
not touching anything, but I'm just providing that guidance along the way so you don't get frustrated and you won't, be bogged down by the details. You own everything, you control all your royalties and rights. The way I structure my company is we don't want none of your royalties. First of all, it's a headache to keep track of.
Oh
And
yeah.
number two, that's your money.
Hmm.
So you just hire us as contractors for the skills. My daughter actually works with me. She designed my book cover. She's a great young graphic designer, and we make an amazing cover for you, based on what you want to put together. And then from there, however you want to market your book, we can develop a strategy for you, social media content, we make great videos, and we can also put together a little Yelp, Google Sites package for you based on what you want. So there's different
Okay.
levels, and that's just the book publishing aspect. Then the next aspect is the business writing. So if you're trying to get a grant, if you're trying to put together a business plan, we can work with that for you to make a perfect business plan based on what funding you're trying to get and based on how you're trying to impact your local community, which is always important. Local communities
Yeah.
matter.
Yep. I agree. Now, I I have your Instagram up here, but I don't have your actual website. How do you prefer people to how do you prefer for people to get a hold of you?
Oh, DM me wherever you are. DM me, right? You can just type in the
Okay.
right warrior, my link tree, my beacons, they're both active. On my beacons, it's more on the business services side. So it's just beacons AI, the right warrior. And it has all my services listed and the prices. But please don't purchase anything unless we have a contract in place. Okay. So I have a full breakdown. It's kind of like going into a menu in a restaurant. You can see what you want and see what the service entails, and then you can contact me. We talk about any payment arrangements you need to make. Your time frame, that is super important. What time frame are you looking at? One of my clients right now, she has a doggy daycare center, and she just wants a book that has some information about taking care of dogs to be on her coffee table in the lounge area. So that's for me is a low maintenance project. Wonderful, beautiful pictures, some captions. It's about like 30 pages, 30, 32 pages. And she's not pushing or promoting it. However, when her clients come in, they can grab a copy. It's free. They can read it. And it's a great way to introduce other clients to her business, right? So something like that is a small, low-key project. It won't take much to do. We charge, as a comparison, $808 for that. because we do everything in house. We do the
Okay.
cover design, we do the formatting, we do the page layout, we do the proofing and everything. And what it does is now you have a complete little package, a beautiful book that you can just order for yourself from Amazon, and it's done for you.
So I actually put, so you can go to Instagram.com, The Right Warrior, or it, and this link is where I got his link tree from Instagram. So it's Linktree / The Right Warrior, and you can get in contact with him through there. There's tons of links on his link tree, but yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at his link tree right now, and there is a lot of links. So I think the
Oh
moral of
yeah,
the story here is
I'm
just to
looking.
book a call with him.
There you go. Book a call. So what I made sure I did, I love how you mentioned that, JJ. The 15 minute is the first link at the top of the page. 15 minutes. That's all you need. Because the other thing too is we have to talk about alignment, right? How do we align? I might not be the best editor for you. You might not be the best client for me.
Right.
So we have to also be aware of the purpose and alignment. However, in that 15 minutes, I can also determine for you, you know what? Here's what you need. It's not me, but you're in this direction, you're in this industry, this is the niche you're looking at. I might have a recommendation for you. Or here's the information you need. Do some more research, and I wish you the best on your path.
Sure.
Because too many times we feel like pressured to work with people or make connections. The path of being a leader also involves setting boundaries, right? No one goes through a forest willy-nilly, going through mad bush, getting cut, getting jumped by panthers and cougars. No one does that. Okay. If you want to be a trailblazer, that's cool, but understand you're out there by yourself figuring it out. However,
Yes.
anyone who has any pathfinding skills know in most jungles, in most forests, if you look carefully, there's a path. There's some kind of little trail by some animal or by the natives. Okay, if we can be so crass, follow the path. So that's what leadership is about too. Sometimes you're like, this is not for me, or this might not work for you, or we're not meant to be in this season, in this time,
Yeah.
and that's okay. It's okay to just interact with someone and just keep it trucking. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I think that's important as a business owner to know is that, if you are out there trying to make a name for yourself and grow a business, you got to really figure out what your niche is and figure out what your right or wrong customer is. Because if you don't, and you just willing to work with anybody, you're going to end up being disappointed, and you're going to you're going to go down paths for projects that you don't necessarily want to go down. I mean, you should keep an open mind, but at the same time, you should have your left and right limitations. And if you don't, it's important to figure those out while you're still young in business, because once you start growing and you're doing stuff that you don't like, it's a slippery slope. You're going to wonder why the heck you even went into business in the first place. And part of that is the type of people you want to work with.
Exactly.
Yes, I agree.
Exactly. And easy metric of this, and this goes back to purpose also, is when you think about it, if you are entrepreneur and you have your list of services and products, what's the most expensive thing that you have, right? The most expensive thing that you have coupled as a service. So which means like maybe a 3 to 6 months project coupled with the worst possible type of client you can have. And when you put those two things together, you realize no amount of money is going to make it worth it,
Nope.
right? Because the relationship
Yep.
is not good.
Yeah.
So
Especially
if you
if
remove
the
the
reason
money from
you
the
left.
equation, look at the relationship. Go ahead.
Yep. Especially if the reason you left your 9 to 5 was to have, freedom from a lot of the bureaucratic crap that you were dealing with. If you just go right back to dealing with the same sort of people, you're not gonna like it. I mean, you need to deal with the type of people that want to deal with you as a type of person that you are. And until you can figure out your mission set and your value set, and figure out what your ideal client is, you probably won't be too successful going out and trying to find them in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly. That is one of the things I wrote about in my sixth book. It's called Inner Sanctum, Protecting My Peace Through Poetry. Because the peace that we often look for on the outside is often inside. You know, not to make this a debate about war, but JJ, I've always said this, and we agree on this. One of the reasons why I chose the name warrior is although we prepare for the war, we pray for peace, right?
Correct.
So the peace you want is never outside. Yes, you might have had traumatic experiences. Yes, you might have had a bad childhood. You might have been raised in a suspect environment. You might have some unprofessional co-workers. However, the outside external environment cannot dictate how you find your peace, because then you'll always be bouncing back and forth and all over the place. Your peace must come from within. And once you find your peace, you expand on your peace. So now anything that comes into your atmosphere, you control or you vet, no pun intended, at least a little bit, right? And if you think it's good, so for example, I know for a fact right now, if one of my best friends calls me and says, "Hey, bro, man, we're doing a guy's night out, let's go clubbing," and it's 8 o'clock at night, I'm out. That's not for me.
No.
If one of my friends calls and say, "Hey, bro, a new bookstore is open up, downtown. They're having a 2 o'clock grand opening, hors d'oeuvres, and you might get a book signed," I'm in, right? So you have to know what you want within your boundaries. And once you
Yes.
know that, it becomes easier to maintain your internal peace, because the peace within is what never leaves you.
Yes. And I think we're coming up on 30 minutes here pretty quick, but I want to highlight something that I think is very important about what you just said. So, we talk about a lot about how, we need to find our inner peace. Well, the wonderful thing about the warriors out in this world, the warriors of God, maybe the warriors in the military, whatever the case may be, is that we can be at peace and be happy and have that lion living inside of us. We can have that person who's ready to do whatever it takes to get the job done living inside of us. One that, yeah, you can come up to me and you can try to um do what you got to do around me and bring me into your space and drag me down. But if you push me too hard, well, now the fighter in me is going to come out, and it's going to be a different story, whether it means there's an actual fight, which I don't recommend. I'm getting too old for that crap anyway. My body would probably break. Or or maybe it's that type of fight where you could just look at him and say, "No, stop. You're not my type of people. You need to go over there, and I'm going to separate you from what I'm doing because you're going to drag me down." Just to verbally say no to another person. And there's not enough opposition out there for the type of people that are trying to bring other people down, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I 1000% agree with that. We have to be able to maintain our sanity,
Yes.
right? And that word no is so powerful. No is such a great word, because there's no reason why we should subjugate ourselves to situations when we cannot be there in the first place, And one of the final things I want to add is always have an exit strategy. Always have a plan for exiting the situation or for closing the relationship. So, for example, as a project specialist, when I take on a new client, I always say, okay, this is the scope of work, this is a time frame, this is what the onboarding process looks like, and this is what the end of the project looks like. And then once the project ends, payments are made, product in hand, service done. Then how do we continue from here? Do you want to tap in maybe once every 3 months? Do you want to have a wonderful day and just see each other in passing? Or do you want to be part of the community and we tap in once a month and just talk and see what's going on? Always have something in place that ends the relationship in a graceful, professional manner. And that helps a lot in ensuring that not only do you keep on spreading goodwill, but you have a full circle in terms of your ecosystem. Onboarding, exit strategy, they go hand in hand.
While keeping that relationship open for future opportunities, whether it be with that person or maybe a friend of theirs, so to speak. Yes. So that's
As
great.
referral, exactly.
Yes. But that's great, Dwight. This is where we kind of wrap things up here. Do you have any final words that you would like to say to the audience?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Take the time to know yourself better. Take the time to know your faith better. Mine is Jesus Christ is King. God is for me, who can be against me? And love and kindness makes the world go round. And if the world happens to be flat, well, love and kindness props it up.
Oh, wow.
And number one, if you have not written anything today, write creatively. So important. Take a pen, take a piece of paper, and just write. Write a haiku, write an essay, write in your journal. If you need a mentor for writing, for poetry, tap in. We do a Saturday writing sprints. I have a whole curriculum for writing on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, and we meet once every Saturday just to talk about your personal development, how the writing journey is going. And if you need someone to be with you to become an author, if not me, find someone. It could be a family member, it could be your retired teacher who you know. Find someone to be with this journey with you. Writing is not an individual solo project. The days of Ernest Hemingway are gone. And Ernest Hemingway, wonderful writer, only he committed suicide.
Yep.
Because he was alone, amongst other things. So do not undertake writing by yourself. You need a community. You need a family. I always say team, TEAM. You need a therapist. You need an editor. You need an artist. And you need a marketer. Okay? I don't know what else to tell you. Go out and write. Have fun. JJ, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for this time. And once again, thank you for your service.
Thank you. And you know what? That team thing that you just got done saying, that's going to be a reel that's going to go up on my page. I just want to let you know. But all right. Well, thank you, Dwight, for being a guest on my show. And for everybody out there, if this information resonates with you, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, repost this or share it so that other people can see it. But the most important thing is to leave a comment below so that we can keep the conversation going about anything that you feel that you feel is valuable that came from this conversation. I appreciate y'all, and Dwight, once again, I appreciate you. Keep trekking forward and keep doing what you got to do.